episode. Are we on 41, Respass? I actually was so far down the page that welcome to episode 41. Oh my god, it's a great morning for recording a podcast. Welcome to episode 41 of A From Work podcast with Chub Boys, Respass, Peach, and Walt. Peach, how you feeling today, bud? That's right, he's not here. It's just the Respass. It's a peachless peach pit, if you must.
You're welcome.
Yes. Well, so the funny thing is, like, at one point, I think most people assume that it's a running gag that I just ask for the episode every week number.
Yeah,
and
I'm pretty convinced it's a running gag.
It's not really, because I honestly forget. I just want the confirmation to make sure I'm right.
I used to know them off the top of my head. Now I literally bring the website up just in case.
Just in case we get wrong or something like that. Oh, man. But, Respace, how are you doing today?
I am wonderful on this beautiful, beautiful rainy morning.
Yes, I am hungover and trying to hydrate myself, as always, from a night of drinking last night, so... I was hoping you were going to fill in for me there, Respass, why I drank.
Yeah.
But
no, it was better that way. A bunch of people just thought Peachy randomly showed up, and it was amazing for them. They're like, "Oh my god, food, drink, is that Peachy?"
Yes.
No, he's not here.
Nah, he is not. This is how we keep his spirit alive, though.
Yeah, we should just say he's here every episode, and then just chew like once every 10 minutes into the microphone. Peach, what do you think about that?
That's gross sounding. No, so we have so it is coming around, I guess, the best time of the year, I think, as wrestling fans. And please disagree with me if I'm wrong. It's Royal Rumble season. I
thought you meant Christmas.
Well, that too. But I also think that for majority of wrestling fans, Royal Rumble is the favorite pay-per-view of a lot of wrestling fans. I think it's, WrestleMania is the biggest show, but for whatever reason, we get more satisfaction from the Royal Rumble than from WrestleMania. Would you kind of concur?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I consider myself more upset if somebody won the Rumble that I didn't want to win than if somebody won the main event at WrestleMania. I feel like I'm more invested in the winner of Royal Rumble than whoever the hell won the title at WrestleMania at the end.
I can agree with that. So we are going to be doing a bunch of Royal Rumble related episodes upcoming, just to give you guys a heads up. A lot of them. Yeah. So this is actually a really cool idea. Our buddy Roy, Big Roy from OP and Friends, is going to be joining us in a few weeks, and we. The three of us, well, Peachy's not here, but the three of us and Roy are going to do kind of an analysis.
If Peachy shows up.
If Peachy shows up. He's getting numbers, so he has to. Do an analysis of each Royal Rumble number and the entrants that entered it. It's good. It was kind of like a fun concept that came up. We're going to keep the numbers secret from each other, so we don't know who's going to be kind of responsible for looking up, who's the people that came in at number 16. Throughout the event, but we're going to do that across 2 episodes because 30 numbers. We're going to do 1 through 30 across 2 episodes. I think we're going to try to do a bonus episode to fill in the blanks of those very few Rumbles that were 40 and 50 man. It hurts me that we're going to cover the greatest Royal Rumble, but the problem is...
I was going to cut it off 40. That's...
if we're going to do the 40 man, we got to do the 50 man. And the problem is they count that as an actual Royal Rumble win.
That is
awful. Yeah, I agree. But so that I just think is going to be pretty fun. I'm really excited how we came up with that concept.
Yeah. The funny thing is I just randomly said let's break it down knowing it would take a while, and I didn't think let's do 1 through 30, and then everybody kind of jumped on it, and then your idea of not... I mean, it took me a while.
Yeah.
You needed to explain it a couple of times. But it's the concept, it's kind of like a Pollyanna in a way, where you know who you have, you just don't know who everybody else has.
Yeah.
And at the moment, we thought it was just going to be the three of us. And Peachy, surprisingly, after you talked to him last night, that's right. Even though we don't get him on air, we do get a hold of him sometimes off air.
Yes.
He actually said we give him enough time, he'll do numbers himself too. So that in itself
is a Christmas miracle.
Listen. Yeah, and Peachy's not only going to do research, but he's going to speak on that research.
And he's going to be prepared. It's going to be...
And none of the other three of us are going to be prepared for that number. We're only preparing for our numbers. So it's going to have to come from him. Because even though me and you can go off our mind, and I'm sure we'll have certain facts about things, like, oh yeah, wasn't this guy this number? He's got to know his stuff. So either it's going to be a train wreck like I expect it to be, or he's going to be prepared for once.
And as the audience, we all know you want the train wreck, so we will try to deliver. But we thought we would start things off this week because of we live in the Philadelphia area, and we've been lucky enough to have 3 Royal Rumbles take place at the Wells Fargo, whatever the hell it was called back when the first one was there.
Was it the FU Center?
Was it First Union
Center? Might even have been before that.
Wachovia. No, it was Wachovia before that. So we've had 3 of them there. And Respass and myself have gone to all 3 of them.
Yes, we have.
The first one was almost by accident, I feel. I feel we got tickets last minute. And then the other 2 we planned ahead a lot. So we figured this is a good opportunity to go over our experiences from these past Royal Rumbles.
Yeah. Fun fact on these Royal Rumbles is we've had better seats at each and every one of them.
That is true.
I don't know that we would have had better ones at this last one if there was not a camera sitting in our seats and moved us up.
Jared,
hopefully the Royal Rumble never comes back here, because if it ever comes back to Philly, outside of sitting ringside, I don't know that we can really truly outdo the seats we had last year. So.
I agree. But let's before we start talking last year, let's just hop in the way back machine real fast and go back all the way to the year 2004. That was the first Royal Rumble that was in Philadelphia. It was January, and I remember our seats for that one was I forget how we got tickets or got on going, because I feel like we got tickets last minute.
I just remember your mom drove us.
Yes, she
it was just me and you.
The funny thing is, she could have for last year too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just me and you. I think we knew a couple other people there, but it ended up just being us. Our seats were terrible.
Awful. We couldn't see the Titantron.
Yeah, so if you're looking at the ramp on to go up to the entranceway, if you're facing that, we were in the top right corner of that, essentially parallel with the Titantron. They were the cheapest seats in the house. I was a junior in high school. You were a senior, I think.
Yeah, I was just trying to think about that now. I would have been...
Yeah, you would have been...
We would have been 16 and 17 at the time, right? That year I turned 18, but yeah, it was January 2004.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were 16 and 17 at the time.
Yeah,
so we thought we were big shit being at a wrestling show by ourselves.
Yeah, that my mom drove us to. But yeah, so we had some of the worst seats in the building, and that actually affected some of the night for us.
Oh my god! I know we will get to it, because I'm assuming we're not just going to talk. We'll talk about the Rumble event as a whole, right? So we'll get to that when we get to this. But yeah, it did affect a relatively big moment of the night where we had to, and there was no network back then. We couldn't go home and
I don't think we knew anybody really watching it or anything.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how we even found that out, because YouTube and the internet wasn't even as
we might have found
as
out
big as it is right now.
I forget. I forget how we found that out. We did find out though.
Maybe Fico didn't. Fico still order it, or maybe he didn't that night.
He might have had the hop. No, I don't know if he had the hot box. No, because he was.
Remember, we used to order it. They would have been in Jersey at that time.
Yeah, but either way, so I actually had to look back up the card, because there are only 2 matches I really remember from this night. The Royal Rumble win, or the Royal Rumble match itself, and then Triple H versus Shawn Michaels in that Last Man Standing match. which was an incredible match.
Yeah. And my recollection of that night is not really there that much.
I forget a lot of it. I remember it just being so cool of a match to see and witness, and then hearing it talked about, because I think it is one of the better matches to come from a Royal Rumble pay-per-view. So I remembered that match. Like, I forgot. So you had Brock Lesnar versus Hardcore Holly in a WWE Championship match, which I forgot that was a thing, that Hardcore Holly was fighting for a championship.
It's the good old days of them forcing guys in a match. Because they didn't have enough people for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. What else did we have? We had Rey Mysterio versus Jamie Noble for the Cruiserweight title. Eddie Guerrero versus Chavo Guerrero in a singles match, which I'm upset that I forgot and don't remember that match.
Yeah, like I said, my problem is I don't even remember Triple H Shawn Michaels, so anything else on this too, I'm not.
And because the thing is, that was probably the last time we saw Eddie Guerrero live. You and me, because I don't think we went to a wrestling show after this, and he died in 2005.
Yeah, I highly doubt. I don't think we weren't. Yeah, I think you're right on that.
Yeah,
I can't remember anything else we would have went to.
So just as a note, too, for everyone, for the most part, when I go to a wrestling show, Respass is usually there. So I think a lot of
it's few and far between.
Yeah, most of the time we're both going at the same thing. We it's actually always fun. I recommend this if listen out there, Ken, have a group of wrestling buddies and be able to go, go to shows with them, because you guys get to hang out all the time. It's great. So
especially now at an older age, we don't get to see each other nearly as often as we'd like.
It's kind of sweet and endearing.
Yeah, like. A group of yous went out last night to something I wasn't invited to, so thank you.
You're welcome. Was the starting line.
Yeah, it was. No, I seen the tickets. I was going to ask you, but we did too much this summer. We just didn't have the money for it. That was the problem.
Yeah, but so that's how I can mostly speak onto the fact of what wrestlers and wrestling shows Respass and I have seen or been to. So like, I'm just realizing this now, and I'm like, wow, this kind of sucks that I don't remember probably the last live match I seen with Eddie Guerrero. You then had...
My problem was, and you probably can think the same way, I was so excited to be there, I think I really did not care about anything leading into the Royal Rumble.
I
was there to see the Royal Rumble, and I don't know that I cared enough to even pay close attention to the other matches.
Yeah, and I think also this was around the time for me to where my interest in wrestling was kind of like feigning a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, we always watch the big ones, but then, like, following it weekly and things like that was kind of like on a down spiral for me, because I don't think I really watched it fully as much as I would have liked to years after this. Right. And then you also had Evolution, Batista and Flair versus the Dudleys for the tag team titles in a tables match.
Yeah, a 4-minute tables match.
Yeah, and then Victoria versus Molly Holly. So,
in a match that was longer than both the Cruiserweight Championship match and the World Tag Team Championship match.
Yep. So let's jump into the Rumble, since that's really the only thing we remember. The Rumble, and this is always a fun one. Like, and now this actually kind of sucks, because I know you don't like talking about them, but this is the Rumble where Chris Benoit entered the number 1 and won the entire Royal Rumble. Up until this point, second time in history where a number 1 entrant had won the Royal Rumble. The other being Shawn Michaels, I want to say in '96. I think it was '96, but either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of sucks that we were there for history, but this history is now... The closest it gets mentioned is the same amount of participants entering at number 1 as number 30.
Yeah,
that's the closest we get now.
I don't mind talking about them. I just know there's, obviously for the good reason we also try not to talk about them as much.
Yeah.
But as far as wrestling goes and everything, I mean, he was entertaining.
If that never happened, he'd be one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. Man was fucking technician in the ring. So the big thing during this Rumble match now, and this is what sucked. So I'm looking through the results. Spike Dudley never entered because he was attacked by Kane. And then someone got Test got hurt in the backstage area.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, the video did not play or come through in the arena, or at least we weren't able to see it somehow.
Right.
And
our angle, we couldn't see it.
We couldn't see it, and we couldn't hear really any, like, for what it was. So we had no idea this was going to happen. So Test comes, gets knocked down in the back, and then Stone Cold sends Mick Foley in. So we get a surprise entrance by Mick Foley, which was great.
Right.
And then I need to look this up because
I don't remember when it happened. And I know what you're talking about, and I'll lead into that just because.
If you can actually take over that, because I want to look at see if I can find it.
Yeah, if you can find out the section of it. Now at this time, Spike got attacked, did not enter. Then the whole Mick Foley entering thing. Now we're confused at this point because we don't get to see anything that was going on in Titantron, and usually back then they never had the sound. You heard it at home, but you didn't hear it in the arena. So we didn't know what was going on. And at one point, the lights go out.
This is actually, I have it tied in, so go ahead.
Okay. And then you hear the dong, the Undertaker gong go off. Now, at that time, we had not seen him in a while. He was the American badass for a while. And just having that happen, we're like, oh my god, because we knew Spike Dudley didn't come out. It was, if I remember right, it was like in between, but we didn't really know for sure because we can't see the Titantron. So we're thinking, like, what the hell is going on? Like, is he going to replace Spike Dudley? Like, you know, what's going on here? But the lights go out, you just hear the gong, and the lights come back on. And it was like, all right. And nothing else happened. At least from what we see, nothing else happened.
So what happened is Kane was in the ring. What ultimately this setup was for Undertaker versus Kane at WrestleMania 20. But what ended up happening was, because I found it, is the gong hit, Kane entered, and then Kane was in the ring, Undertaker's entrance plays, and then Kane gets eliminated. He thought it was Spike Dudley, that was messing around with him, so that's why Kane attacked Spike Dudley on the way back. So, for my money's worth too, the Undertaker's gong in a live arena is probably the coolest thing ever.
Ah, man.
Like, Bray Wyatt's Fireflies is not a close second, a distant second, but hearing that gong, and like when we heard it at WrestleMania, that's what brings me back to being a kid. Because I still remember when I first got into wrestling, Undertaker literally scared me. Like, legitimately scared me. And he, so his gong just brings back all those memories, and it's just so cool. But, so the Undertaker's gong went off, which was, like, we freaked out. Because, like, again, he wasn't expected to be there.
And again, the last time we seen him, he was the American Badass.
Yes.
So, you know, to have the old Undertaker back, too. I guess that makes sense with our confusion, was the whole Spike Dudley thing, because I think it happened, like you said, Kane was eliminated, and then, like, a minute and a half later, Spike Dudley comes out. Like, it wasn't like the gong happened, and then the next entrant came out. The gong happened in between entrants, like almost halfway in between both of them. At least that's the way it felt while we were there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could have been 10 seconds before the 10-second clock went. But you're like, wait, what? Like, and it almost, and I think I remember us talking about this. We were trying to figure out if it was a mistake.
Were we?
At the time. we were like, what was the point of that?
Oh, yeah.
Like, we couldn't figure it out. We were like, was it supposed to happen somewhere else? Because it seemed, sitting there in the crowd watching it, not hearing the announcers explain anything or anything like that, we were just kind of like, we were confused by it after a little bit. Because if you remember, we waited until 30 thinking The Undertaker was coming out at some point.
Yeah.
And then he didn't, and we were like, what the hell was that about then? Like, why tease us with him coming out and then have him not come out at all? So
yeah, so that Rumble was won by Chris Benoit. It was a good performance. He last eliminated Big Show. Some notable entries: John Cena entered at 28. Goldberg was your number 30. No, I was going to say Jericho was there, but I'm trying to think. Has Jericho been in... Jericho wasn't in the... This was the only time Jericho was in a Rumble that we've been at. Ernest Miller was also your number 18. Looking through this list now, I think the really only surprise entrance I remember was Mick Foley. I don't think.
Yeah.
Looking at this list, like I could be wrong. I don't know if any of these guys were out injured or anything like that. Because this was what, 15 years ago, 14 years ago at this point.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously some ties into ECW in this match, but I think most of them, if not all of them, were active members of the roster.
Yes.
But that obviously would be a reason why you would put guys like that out there. I mean, Spike Dudley, Tajiri,
Rene Dupree,
Nunzio. Well, I'm talking about ECW guys.
Oh yeah,
that obviously were put.
I thought you were talking
match.
about just like lower tier guys, just as fillers.
But that's what I'm saying. They filled a Rhino. You know, they filled up kind of the lower tiers a little bit with former ECW guys.
They did a better
Rob Van Dam. Not that he was the lower tier, but Rob Van Dam at 29.
So, all in all, it was a fun first experience live at a Rumble.
Watching in person, watching Benoit go as the number one all the way to the end to win it, and I'm trying to think. Usually, it comes down to the final four. So I'm trying to who's exactly the final four. It would have been Benoit,
Big Show,
Kurt Angle, and Jericho were your final four.
I'm just looking up to see if there's any interesting facts.
Yeah, the thing I'm looking at showing like time in the ring. Goldberg was actually only in the ring for 2 minutes.
That sounds about right for Goldberg.
At 30.
Yeah,
he eliminated 3 people and then got eliminated by Kurt Angle.
Yep, that sounds about right for. Yep, and actually, so I'm reading. So on the Wikipedia page, it has the impact of the Benoit tragedy. And it says when they refer to the number one entrant, personalities say 2 people have won from the number one position, including Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks. It sucked too because at that point, and I'd say probably up until a couple years ago, that was the biggest wrestling event we've ever been to.
Yeah.
I mean, it is past now over the last couple of years, but that was the only one of the big fours that we'd ever been to. At least I know I had ever been to. I'm assuming you're the same.
Yeah.
From the big four pay-per-view. Yeah, up until probably we came back to the Royal Rumble. Here's a transition. To the next Royal Rumble that was in Philly was probably the next big four that we were at.
That is a great transition.
Yeah. See.
But so, yeah, I don't, like, it was so long ago, like, bits and pieces I remember about, but...
we're going to remember the full cards on these next two a hell of a lot,
a lot better. So, alrighty, so let's jump over to Royal Rumble 2015. Roughly 10 years, little 11 years after that one. And
this is also an infamous Royal Rumble.
This one, so there's a lot that I think happened during this Royal Rumble. So 2015 Royal Rumble, It's the one where Roman Reigns won, and The Rock came out, and we booed The Rock out of the building.
Yeah. At that time, Rusev was hated, but was cheered crazily while the crowd cheered for him to win.
Now, there's one thing. So, the card for this is, Cesaro and Tyson Kidd versus The New Day. The Ascension versus the Outlaws, which I love just because it was cool to hear the New Age Outlaws, ladies and gentlemen, skit. The Usos versus Mizdow and The Miz, which was
oh my god,
so good.
See, and I think that was probably one of 2 or 3 times we had ever seen The Miz and Mizdow, and seeing it in person, I feel like we'd seen them at least one other pay-per-view.
Yeah, the gimmick was so good.
Oh my god! Just being there live and seeing things that you might miss on TV.
Yeah.
That Mizdow did when he was his stunt double was so hilarious in person.
Then you had the Bella Twins versus Paige and Natalya. Sure. Then you had arguably one of the best championship matches ever held at a Royal Rumble, the Triple Threat Lesnar versus Rollins versus Cena, which was incredible to watch. They played that because at the time Seth Rollins was your Money in the Bank contract holder. Cena had this was the same year that Cena just lost that brutal SummerSlam match where Lesnar just destroyed him, and then Lesnar was champion. That match was incredible. Like, they played it perfectly. They got Lesnar knocked out early enough so that Cena and Rollins could go at it, but Lesnar came back looking strong. It was really before we got this very repetitive Brock Lesnar match that we're now, accustomed to.
Yeah.
And then the Royal Rumble match was your main event.
Here's a little fun fact for you. And I'm just going off of looking on the cards for both of these events. There's only 2 people in the first 2 Royal Rumbles in Philly that were involved in non-Royal Rumble matches. Who are they?
I didn't even understand that question.
There were only 2 people who were involved in non-Royal Rumble matches in both the 2004 Royal Rumble and this one. 2015.
Lesnar?
Yeah.
And...
You better not be looking at the old one.
No, I'm not. I'm looking at the current card. I don't...
We just looked at it.
I don't know.
It should stand out. It should hit you right in the face.
Go ahead.
Are you looking at the Wikipedia page, right?
Yeah, the Wikipedia page of 2015.
Jamie Noble.
Oh, yeah, shit.
He was out there with Seth Rollins in that Triple Threat. And he also wrestled Rey Mysterio, right?
Yeah, for the... Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I could take a wild guess and say, just a spoiler alert for you out there, Jamie Noble will not be on all 3 of them. I think I remember that much from this year.
So, I will say, something else interesting about this pay-per-view, and I don't know if... I feel this is when it started. But remember the New Day sucks chant? To the beat, New Day sucks. Like when Woods would do the New Day rock.
Yeah.
I believe that started in Philly. Because this was the first time... They did it during this match, during the pre-show match. And I remember hearing... that was the first time I had heard it.
Right.
And I think that's where it started here. And they got a sock deal out of it. Because they were saying, we're saying New Day socks.
Yeah. Well, they were also wrestling Cesaro and Tyson Kidd, which... They're both huge, if you want to call it smark.
Yeah.
Huge. Smark's a huge fan of them too, and Philly is nothing but full of smarks.
Yeah.
And drunk people who follow them.
But I believe that's when the New Day sucks chant started to that New Day rocks beat, and I always take pride when stuff like that starts in Philly. We did serenade Cena, I remember, with John Cena sucks, but we did not start that.
And I feel like the first time that happened, was that the Royal Rumble or was that the Money in the Bank?
What?
That he got it really bad here against Mark Henry. I thought he got it really bad, that Money in the Bank here.
He did get it really bad.
against Mark Henry.
Yeah,
I don't know that it happened at this one as much as it was that Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
I remember that was loud as shit at that Money in the Bank.
Listen, the Rumble was loud too. So let's jump into the Rumble part of it. Now, you did have a couple surprise returns. Now, the number 3 entrant was the biggest probably pop of the night. Was Bubba Ray Dudley.
Yeah.
So I do, and I think you do a good job too. We stay off of like the internet basically like a week or two prior to avoid any
try to stay
to
far,
try
far
to
away
to
from
try
it.
to do any to try to avoid any Royal Rumble spoilers, just because I like being surprised.
Yeah.
So had no idea Bubba Ray Dudley, and this was actually the first time he was in a Royal Rumble. As an individual, they've wrestled on the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, but never in an actual the Rumble match. What other surprise returns did we have? We had the Boogeyman. DDP.
Yeah.
That was a fun one. And I think that was it. Goldust was there, but I forget if he was.
I mean, he might have been like a surprise in the sense that, like, you hadn't seen him for a while.
Yeah, Zack Ryder returned. That was a surprise. I was really excited about that. Zack Ryder's one of my favorites. Then you had. So let's just get into the nitty gritty of this. Daniel Bryan entered in at number 10. And he got a pretty loud pop. That's who everybody wanted to see. This was a year removed after his injury, where he had to give up the title, and this was his redemption story. So, Jesus, this is terrible. So, Daniel Bryan enters at number 10, and Bray Wyatt eliminates him. When does he get eliminated? After about he's in for about 10 minutes, and he's eliminated by Bray Wyatt. The crowd. This was going a pretty good Royal Rumble. We were having a really good time.
Oh yeah, up to that point.
The crowd turned so bad, it was incredible to watch and like be there and just like, oh my god, it was incredible. And then as soon as Roman Reigns' music hit, the boos just did not stop. Like
the biggest problem is, and as fans, even without staying off the dirt sheets and stuff, which we try to do, every year, as exciting as the Royal Rumble is, every year you know pretty much which way they're going. It's very few and far between they surprise you with who wins it.
Yeah.
I mean, not to give away this year's one, but when Nakamura won, we expected it, but we loved it. You knew where they were leading with the Reigns thing, and the only person that made sense if it was not Reigns was Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
He was the only one other than Reigns that made sense. So the moment he got thrown out, you're just basically giving up hope, because nobody else on that night made sense. You hope that they shocked you, but nobody else really made sense. And by that point, you're just hoping that they're fucking with you. But we kind of knew, they could have at least teased it until the very end and left Daniel Bryan in there with Reigns. And I realized why they didn't, because they assumed that would give the crowd time enough to kind of forget about it. And that's why they threw him out so early.
Yeah, we didn't forget.
The hope was that the crowd would calm down
that did not
by the time Reigns won. And obviously did not.
That did, yeah. And then Ziggler was your number 30 entrant. And at this point, I think a lot of people, including myself, expect a big number 30 entrant.
Yes.
Like a big name, a big return, something like that to have.
Somebody's going to return and win it. You're going to have like Cena come out at 30 and win it. And that's one of the few times the fans were probably hoping Cena came out and won it. You were hoping Seth Rollins might come out and win it.
Yep.
You're hoping somebody who wrestled at the beginning of the night, something. You were holding on hope at that number 30 spot.
Yep. And they just shit on. And then Oh man, the boos, like, and then so your last two was, so at some point in the match, I remember Rusev like went out underneath the rope, and at this time, no one really liked Rusev, so he went out underneath the rope, and for the dumbest thing, and I don't understand it, like Big Show and Kane were working with the Authority, and they were in there, and like they were just dragging bodies and dumping them over the rope gingerly. The top rope.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it. Like it made everyone look like shit. Because they did it with Ambrose, they did it with Ziggler. Did they else? They did it with Ryback. But so then after that you had they had The Rock come. So there were rumors earlier in the day that The Rock was in Philly and The Rock was going to show up at the Rumble. And he did. And he came out to save the day for Reigns. Because to counteract Big Show and Kane, there was an initial like loud cheer when The Rock's music hit. Like it was that just generic like, oh man, it's The Rock, like, you know, especially if some people weren't expecting him, things like that. This is awesome. But then not even 20 or 30 seconds, we realized what we were getting fed, and just the crowd just started booing again. And then you had Big Show and Kane got eliminated, and it looked like Reigns had won, but then Rusev was still outside. That place went crazy cheering for Rusev. To try for Rusev to possibly win. We knew it wasn't going to happen, but we were still cheering for him. Reigns ultimately gets Rusev out. And then The Rock comes in the ring to basically hold up Reigns' hand, and just the crowd is booing him. We're booing The Rock in Philadelphia, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I was so proud of us as a crowd that night. And that Royal Rumble gets noted as like some of like one of the worst Royal Rumbles ever. And like,
well, that's what. And I'm looking at it now, and there is a very, very big reason why. Just on top of that, let me roll down some of the names here for you out of the 30 names, right? And I'm going to go from the beginning, because I was going to look at the last handful and say every year, out of the last 6, 7 guys, you usually have 3 huge names.
Yes.
Usually. At least 3 of those last 6 guys, 7 guys, are huge names. Literally, the video games do the same thing. The video games are set up that when you do Royal Rumbles, that it's going to be like Triple H, John Cena, Undertaker at 28, 29, 30, because they know at the end of these things, you're going to get the big names.
Before we go into complaining, too, I just want to call something out because I forgot to mention it earlier. The Miz and Mizdow had a segment during the Rumble where, like, Miz got eliminated and then Mizdow got eliminated right afterwards, and it was, like, copycat. It was hilarious.
Right. But I'm going to run down this list real quick. And look at the huge names in this Royal Rumble. The huge names. You have the Miz and Mizdow, who also wrestled that night.
Yep.
R-Truth, Bubba Ray Dudley, Luke Harper, Eric Rowan, The Boogeyman, Sin Cara, Zack Ryder, Fandango, Tyson Kidd, Stardust, DDP. I'll even jump across Rusev because he was at the end, but I'm going to say Rusev, Goldust, Kofi Kingston, Adam Rose, Big E, Jack Swagger, Ryback. Let's leave Kane and Dean Ambrose in the top tier, even though they probably both shouldn't. Titus O'Neil, Bad News Barrett, Cesaro, and Dolph Ziggler. That's, 22 of the guys I just named right there.
Yeah.
Are what should be the 8 filler guys in a match. I just said 22 names.
It was not.
And then at the end here, you got Kane, Ambrose, Tyson O'Neil, Barrett, Cesaro, Big Show, Ziggler was your last, 7 guys.
Yep, it was pretty bad.
Now let's go back to 2004. Jericho, Charlie Haas, Billy Gunn, John Cena, Rob Van Dam, and Goldberg. That was your last 6. Big Show. So your last 7, Big Show was right before Jericho. That was your last 7 guys. That's what you had to look forward to at the end of the match, knowing that Jericho hasn't come out yet, knowing Cena hasn't come out yet, knowing Goldberg hasn't come out yet. And you get to look forward to Titus O'Neil, Bad News Barrett, Cesaro, Big Show, and Ziggler. Was your last 5 guys. They did everything they possibly could.
Here's the thing. So, it's not a fair comparison, I would say, because, in our 2018 recollection of Van Dam, Goldberg. Like, Goldberg was a big name. John Cena, Jericho. Like, Jericho I don't think was as big of a name. He was, but he wasn't, if that makes sense. Like, John Cena and I would say Wade Barrett was kind of probably that same John Cena role. But John Cena, that was before John Cena really came into his own, I think. Because I think up until this point, Cena hadn't won his first title. He won his first title against Big Show in 2004 at the WrestleMania following.
But he was on the rise.
Yeah, he was on the rise. The
Bad News Barrett was Bad News Barrett. That was like his fourth different gimmick.
Yeah, that's true. All right, yeah, you're right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Titus O'Neil at the time was a guy on the rise because he was good for like a week. Dean Ambrose, like I said, Kane's at the tail end, Big Show's at the tail end. You're talking about guys on the rise right there. Goldberg, I don't care. He's still a big name. Yeah, it's the same reason when Undertaker comes into the Royal Rumble, last 5 minutes to get thrown out. It's still huge when he comes out at the end.
Yeah.
You know, Rob Van Dam at the time was a huge name. Man. Cena was becoming a huge name. Jericho was a relatively huge name, and Big Show was a huge name at the time.
Yeah, it's when Big Show was good. Like, well, it was right because he was. I don't know if he was he wasn't an Iron Man in that match. I don't think. He was in there for 22 minutes. That's not bad.
That's not counting earlier in that match where Kurt Angle was involved.
Yep.
Mick Foley was your surprise entrant.
Yeah.
You got Kane, who at the time obviously was a bigger name. Booker T. You have Scott Steiner, who around that time was probably wrestling Triple H, for a title. Like, that was around the time where he was big in WWE in that general area.
It was just
Mark Henry was big then. Randy Orton and Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
So,
it was just like the 2015, the Royal Rumble itself was terrible.
It looked like they almost, and I realized at the time there probably was injuries. I get it, but could you have had a Seth Rollins or Cena instead of doing a triple threat for the title? Yes, one of them two could have easily been in the Rumble.
They could have done both. They could have pulled double duty. But that's the thing.
Exactly.
Like,
had to do it with Miz and Mizdow. They had to. That Big E did double duty.
Up until that point, up until the Rumble itself, that was a solid pay-per-view. The Tyson Kidd Cesaro New Day match was really good. Yeah. I remember that. The Ascension New Age Outlaws, that was the match it needed to be. Nostalgia pop and to get this new act over. In the Ascension, which failed miserably, which sucked because I really liked the Ascension from NXT. The Usos versus Miz and Mizdow, I think that was just a funny match, if I remember correctly, because again, it's that Mizdow gimmick. The Bella Twins versus Paige and Natalya, I'm pretty sure I peed during. I'm just assuming. And then you had the Triple Threat match, which was incredible. And then the Rumble, just the stock declined during that. I remember your brother being so mad.
Yeah.
And then I was also, just as a sign, I was really uncomfortable during this pay-per-view because I was stuck in between probably two of our biggest friends in the seats. We had better seats this time, so we were basically camera side in the very top, but in the middle. So we were kind of near the back, so it was nice to be able to kind of get a full view of everything going on. We could see the Titantron and all that stuff. But not really close. But yeah, because I think 6 of us went that night.
There might have been. Well, it was me, you, John,
PG, Jaren,
Timmy. Did Dom not go?
I thought he did. Maybe he didn't that one.
Did Peachy not go to that one?
No, Peachy did. I'm pretty sure he did.
That was.
Maybe your brother didn't go. I thought your brother did. Huh.
I don't remember.
There were 6 of us.
I remember John didn't give you the money until the last second. You were not going to let him go unless he gave you the money.
Yeah.
Right? That was this.
We went to Burnsies beforehand.
Yeah. I don't know. We might have had 7 people.
Maybe. Either way, like, we had a big. I just remember, like, that was. It was left such a sour taste in my mouth of a Rumble, and it was just like, this is so shitty because it's like this is what. Now here's our transition into 2018 Royal Rumble. You and I. Well, the first Royal Rumble we went to, they'll never mention again. So that's gone. The second one we went to is getting noted for being the like destruction of like the fans taking over. But I will say, and I love it, is that we do get praise for that, and it's not like people like complaining like, oh, they took over the show and they ruined it.
It wasn't like the Seth Rollins, Dolph Ziggler, Iron Man, where people were like, come on.
Yeah.
They're at least giving you a good match. Like, you're just taking it over to take it over.
Yeah.
There was legit reason.
Yeah.
We were expressing what everybody was feeling at home.
Yes.
We were not doing it because we were awful Philadelphia fans.
And here's the thing. WWE knew how bad it was because they brought The Rock in.
Oh, my God.
Like, they brought him in.
He was there purposely.
To try to get cheers.
And all that I just read down, I guarantee you, the reason why that list looks as bad as it does is because they knew that was going to happen. The fact that they even put Daniel Bryan in that match is amazing to me. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that he was even in it. Like, they did everything they possibly could to avoid what happened, including putting Rusev in there with him at the end.
Yeah.
It's not like it was Daniel Bryan and him at the end where that could have absolutely... People might have rioted if Rusev would have thrown out Daniel Bryan at the end. So, I understand from that perspective why they did what they did. But as a paying customer who went there to go see it, I felt let down by the match as a whole.
Yeah.
And then let me be pissed because the guy I want to win got thrown out last. Don't throw him out 10 minutes into the fucking match. Like, he's one of the guys I want there to go see. And you're basically throwing him out to try to avoid something later. And seeing The Rock later on did not make things any better.
Because everybody could read what they were doing.
Yeah.
Just as a reference to, Bray Wyatt was your Iron Man in this Royal Rumble.
Which I love Bray Wyatt, so.
Yeah, it was great. He did have a nice, like, it was alluding to Punk's sermon on the Mount when Punk was in the Royal Rumble, to where he took a mic and was like preaching for a little bit.
Yeah.
For like 5 or 6 people.
Yeah, which we got another experience of that in this next Royal Rumble we're going to. We got to experience that one live too.
We did?
Yeah. Didn't Elias come down with a guitar?
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah.
Well, he came out with a guitar and then stomped on. You know what? I don't think he got ring time with it. He talked on his way down to the ring as he stomped on Kurt Hawkins.
No, just like everybody else did. I think it was Heath Slater.
Heath Slater, yes.
Yeah. But so for
I don't want to give away too much of that.
For you and me, we had the 2004 Royal Rumble and the 2015 Royal Rumble, and those were 11 years apart. And we're just like, man, like these are some shitty Royal Rumbles. And in my head, I'm like, when are we going to get another Royal Rumble to kind of make up for this? Like, I'm thinking it's going to be another 10 years. By that point, we're going to be over 40 to go. And then, lo and behold, in 2017, they announced Royal Rumble's coming back to Philadelphia.
Yeah. And they had to. They can't mention the Benoit thing on air. They can't. They can't mention that Royal Rumble. So, now Philly's not a part of the Royal Rumble history. They don't want to mention the Roman Reigns one, because why the hell would they?
Yep.
Anything you see is heavily edited because they have to.
Yeah.
They have to heavily edit to even show video of that. They don't want to remind people of that Royal Rumble. So now Philly is supposed to be a big location for them, and you can't mention either one of the 2 Royal Rumbles that it's been there.
Well, do you know why they got the 2018 Royal Rumble?
Wasn't it because they didn't get WrestleMania?
It was so Philly was kept on bidding for WrestleMania to come to Philadelphia, and here's the thing: it's going to come at some point, I think. But the problem is WWE likes to hit new stadiums that are built so that they can be like
the link is starting to get too old now.
Exactly, and they want to set like the attendance records at these stadiums because it's very easy for a wrestling event to do that, because then when the Super Bowl goes to these like new indoor stadiums, the Super Bowl, like if anybody looks up attendance figures, WWE is going to be associated. It's a good marketing plan. It's a great easy way to do it. So, but Philadelphia has been bidding, and just getting outbid by these other cities. So WWE threw Philly a bone, essentially, and was like, here, we're going to give you the Royal Rumble. And it was now they turned the Big Four events into these full weekend events. So they had the full NXT, Royal Rumble, and a Raw and SmackDown afterwards as well. So
that's why the Big Four events, I know they always made a big deal about them, but they'll always be in big cities because they're making it like a week-long event. Yeah. And they need to continue to just recycle these big cities,
which I love,
over and over again. Yeah.
I love.
Yeah, it just means things are coming here quicker as far as big pay-per-views go anyway.
Yeah. But I will say this is probably one of the best Royal Rumbles of all time.
The match or as a whole?
The matches, the card, everything about it, I think.
Yeah, so, I would say so. I want to make a side note real quick on the 2015 one, right? It was 15.
Yeah.
I know you said it a bunch of times. Around that time, we do a thing every year, and maybe we'll do one on the show. Who knows? We'll figure this out. Every year, we always do a thing with friends. We do a little bet, and we pick numbers out of a hat. And we usually do. We would go to Fico's a lot of times to watch them, and we pick numbers out of a hat. And if you're number one, you win. And then we added a couple years later the whole eliminations thing.
Yep.
So I don't know that we were doing that back then in 2004.
We were not.
But it became kind of a normal thing. So that was awful because at the time I was trying to keep track. Even 2015 was just at the beginning of them keeping real track of who threw who out. You know, you could find it on websites and stuff. Now it's so much easier. I think WWE shows it. Like they realize people are doing this type of stuff. But yeah, I remember having to try to keep track of that while we were watching it at the stadium. I think on the ride home, was when I figured out the numbers.
Yeah,
for the most part, I think we found a website that had it. But
and I think your dad won both of them.
That was this one, I think, 2018.
But either way, so let's just go over the card quickly for the Rumble. Well, so first off, Mike alluded to this earlier. This was probably we got really lucky. So our seats for this Rumble were terrible. They were basically akin to the seats we had for that first one we went to in 2004.
Yeah, but just good enough, I think, to kind of see the
the and my always opinion with the Rumble is I just want to be in the building.
Yeah. So
we have their seats. Well, we go sit up in our seats. There's a camera in our seats, and our seats are we had a set of 5 seats. Yeah. And 4 of our seats were taped off. And I'm just so from reading online and all that stuff, I've seen this happen before. It's you just go down to the ticket center and they'll give you your new seats. Well, Jared tried to just sit down in seats. And I'm like, Jared, no, come on. We just go down.
We're standing there. We're like, Jared, there's a camera in our seats. Yeah. And instead of thinking we're telling him, hey, those are our seats, he thinks there's a camera in the way. We can't walk past it to get to our seats. He was just going to sit next to the camera.
Yeah.
So he walked all the way down and we're yelling at him because did Dom followed him, I think, right?
Probably.
Wasn't just me, you, and Peachy standing there. 2 people start walking, and we were trying to get his attention. Stop! He's walking all the way down the end of the aisle for no reason.
So he goes, and I'm just let's just go to Will Call and the box office or whatever, and they'll give us new seats. So it's happened all before. I've seen it online, so that's why I really wasn't affected by it. And just in my head, I'm we're just gonna maybe get a section over or something like that. Similar seats, and so. This is a note. Be nice to people. As just general, but this is one of the reasons why. So I get in line to go get the tickets just because they were in my name. My only concern was because I had only 4 of the seats were blocked. I was a little nervous, and we had 5 tickets together. I was a little nervous they were only going to upgrade the 4 seats that were blocked, and the 5th person would have to sit up there or something like that. So there's a line, and just everyone in that line is just treating the people working at the box office like shit. it's like, oh, they're complaining about their seat placements, like even their new seat placements and stuff like that. And, you know, some of it may be right, some of it may be wrong, but like they just treated, I feel, the employees like shit. So I just go up and I was like, hey, they, you know, there's a camera blocking the seat. And I was like, the guy even asked, he was like, did they flag you when you came in? I was like, nah, nobody told me anything. We went up there and found the seat. He's like, all right, they should have flagged you with their tickets. I was like, you know, just sorry about that. He's like, all right, let me see what tickets we have. And I was like, all right, no problem, man. Take your time, no rush. Like, we're good. Just generally trying to be nice to him because of how much shit everyone else was giving him. And so a couple minutes later, the guy walks out and he kind of just waves his finger at me. He's like, come over here. And he puts me towards the door and he just hands me the tickets. He's like, here you go, bud. Tickets are right behind you. We went from like the top corner next to the Titantron to camera side section 101, about 4 rows off the floor. The best seats we've ever had for wrestling ever.
Fucking amazing.
I sat next to a camera, like the hard camera that all the wrestlers talk to. I was sitting next to the guy doing it. He ate a turkey and cheese sandwich for his lunch during the Rumble. Like, that's how close I was to him. It was...
And we were sitting with other people who were like, did you have a camera in your seat too? Like, they were super excited about it too. It's funny because we sat relatively close at WrestleMania in Cowboy Stadium. At that time, I think we both agreed that was the best seats we ever had for a show. We were essentially in the same spot, just in a bigger arena.
In Cowboy Stadium.
So
we were basically
the ring was further because it was in a field instead of a stadium.
Yeah, just to give an idea for WrestleMania, it was probably, if you're seeing Cowboy Stadium, we were probably on the 30-yard line, about 3 rows off the field.
Yeah.
So
you have a lot more in the field than you do in a stadium, but we were essentially the same spot. We were right behind all the foreign announced teams and where they had the production and stuff. So everything that's going on is going on in front of our face because we're like right dead center of the ring. Everything, like, we're right there. For tickets that we got relatively shitty tickets, the cheapest of the cheap.
Well, we didn't even get the cheapest of the cheap. Like, the original tickets were not like the cheapest tickets. They were like one or 2 tiers up.
Well, it's still like we didn't pay a lot of money.
Those tickets were maybe, I think, after fees, like $95. The ones we actually paid for it. The tickets for the seats we got in were probably a good $200 tickets, I would think. They didn't have the price on them.
Yeah, and I'd say probably even more than that, but it seems like they leave those spots open for when this stuff happens.
Oh, yeah, because they know it. It's something,
awesome.
Yeah, they know because they don't decide the camera setups until they're there. So they just block out probably that section, and it's like, all right, we know we have these extra seats. Here's where we'll move people around. I remember I thanked the guy a lot. I was like, yeah, thanks, man, this is awesome. And he seemed actually generally appreciative that I was being nice to him. So I'm thinking that's why he hooked us up with even like nicer seats.
It's possible. The biggest thing was too, in a sense, we were mad, but that was the plus side of us being a group of 5. Like, we were just kind of laughing it off a little bit. We were just making fun of Jared because he wouldn't listen to us when he walked down the end of the aisle. We essentially missed the whole first match.
Yes.
And the way that line looked and everything that we did, we thought we were going to miss the whole time. And I don't think we cared as much. Obviously, we went to see the Revival against Gallows and Anderson. But I remember us saying, as long as we don't miss Rude's match, which was an open challenge, if I remember correctly. We didn't know who he was wrestling.
Yes.
So we wanted to see Bobby Roode because at that time, I don't know that we had seen him live yet.
I've seen him. We've seen him live, but at like House of Hardcore. Not in WWE.
Yeah, I mean, not in WWE, NXT.
We saw him. I think he was with the Dirty Heels, him and Aries.
Yeah. So we hadn't seen him, and I've always been a Bobby Roode fan, so I was just like, as long as we get to see that, I'm fine. And it actually, they worked on it really quick. I mean, I know that's probably a testament to the workers at the stadium more than anything. Remember, when we got there, we thought we were going to be waiting there for a while.
Yeah.
Like, the four of us walked up, because was it you or was it you and PG? I forget.
What?
I remember we kind of walked off to the side because there were so many people in line. We just kind of walked up to the side.
I think maybe PG was sitting with me for a little bit, but it was just I was the one that jumped in line because I had bought all the tickets in case they needed to do anything with credit cards or anything like that.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, I just wanted to make sure that I had 5 of us.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about that. We got into the stadium, got up to our wrong seats, got down there in line, got to our new seats, and the Revival and Gallows and Anderson, I think, didn't even start yet.
Yeah, they did not.
Or like, it was just getting underway when we got to those seats.
And I just also want to call out, too, prior to this, both you and I were very hungover. Because the night before, we went to NXT in Philly, and that was actually our very first episode. And at the time, those NXT, we said, like, these might be some of the best tickets because they were in the club level.
Yeah, we went. I mean, you got to think about this timeline here. We went to WrestleMania in Dallas, and at that point, that was the best experience we ever had at a show. And then now we come to the Royal Rumble, and we're sitting in box seats for NXT.
Club level.
Yeah, the club.
Yeah.
Club box seats. So we're sitting there in really nice seats. Where we had sat there once before for a Monday Night Raw where they did King of the Ring, where John Cena walked down past us. We sat in that area. But yeah, I was drunk by that main event. So things were not.
The main event of
stood up by the bar. Yeah, I stood up. That's why I told you I had to rewatch that match because
it was,
I was just standing up at the bar the whole time. I didn't even sit in my seat for it.
Well, it was nice too because you could stand up and still see. The main event of that takeover, for those unaware, was Gargano versus Andrade Cien Almas.
Yes,
WWE's first 5-star match since Punk Cena.
Which we referred to that match in multiple episodes.
Yes.
But
because we go
the most in depth with that match. I believe that was episode 1.
Yes, it was.
So if you want to go back and listen to our opinions on that match, it was episode 1.
Yes, but
go back and listen.
So we did the takeover the night before, and then we're here, so we're waiting in line and all that stuff. And I remember I started drinking Twisted Teas because I was hungover and needed sugar, and I'm like, okay, Twisted Teas have sugar in it. So, but that, again, just, be nice to the people that are handling your tickets. I mean, be nice to everyone in general. Let's not, here's my positive message for the day. Let's not be assholes to each other, But when you just treat people with respect, like, you might get hookups like that, to where I think the only reason why the guy gave us, like, some nicer of the comp tickets was because I generally just wasn't an asshole to him.
Yeah.
Like, complaining, like, oh, there's something in my seat, I'm missing stuff, or am I going to get a refund or something like that? Just.
And our seats got us on TMZ.
Yes, they did. So I don't know the so
I looked it up. Yeah,
okay.
So I will, before we even get into the whole pay-per-view, which we have not gotten into yet.
Well, this is also our experiences there, so this is more what I feel like the episode's
during the men's Royal Rumble, a little bit, I think, before, there might have been during the match, a group of guys come in, and they come in, they ask this one guy to move, where I don't know if he was sitting in the wrong seat or whatever happened, so this one guy's going insane during the match. Randy Orton comes out, he's doing the Orton pose.
They were having a ball, man.
Yeah, my God, they had more fun than we did, and we always have fun at shows, but they you just tell they loved being there. When Adam Cole came out, he did the Adam Cole thing. He went nuts. Well, he went nuts with his phone.
Yes.
And this guy's taking videos, and I know you were doing Adam Cole throughout the whole night, trying to get people to say "baby" back to you.
And it worked. I mean,
it did. That's when you're in your element at wrestling shows.
Oh, it is great.
So the funny thing about all that is we're like, oh my God, and they come there for the men's Royal Rumble, and I'm pretty sure they left shortly after that. I don't remember.
I think they were there the whole night.
The whole rest of the night from that point on. I remember they walked out. Maybe they came back in. I thought maybe they left before the women's Rumble. But either way, it turns out it was Designer. which for those of you who don't know who that is, which I'm assuming a lot of people don't.
I don't know who he is.
He's the guy that sings that really, really great song called Panda, where it's just a bunch of mumbling and he says Panda 7,000 times. It's that guy. But again, I heard of that song as a joke, and I actually watched him perform at a Sixers game. He performed at halftime, took his shirt off, got booed, and basically got tossed out during a halftime show that he was doing. But apparently that was in the same night of some music awards.
It was the same night as the Grammys. And I don't know, because I was the one that found it, I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, because it made it on like the front page of Reddit R² Circle. And like the headline was, designer skips Grammys to go to wrestling show. And I'm just like, I don't know if he was nominated or I don't know what the situation was. But so I'm just reading it. I was like, oh, cool. And I'm like looking at like the video, and I look back and I'm like, wait a minute, that's my Kenny Omega. I'm like, wait a minute, these were the dudes that were in front of us. I send over the picture, and it's just a compilation of his Snapchats, I think. And you see him doing the Orton pose, but in the one clear shot, you see it was right when. So Adam Cole was a surprise entrance for this Royal Rumble. He entered at 23. All of a sudden, like as soon as I hear the Undisputed Era Shock the System music, I look up at the screen because I'm like, who's it going to be? And then Adam Cole flashes on the side. And he comes out. And he does Adam Cole, baby. I am so excited. Just because, like, that was a surprise entrance. Wasn't expecting to get that. Like you said, the whole night I was doing, trying to get people to do Adam Cole.
Yeah, try to get the response.
Call and response. And you just see me, clear as day, behind this dude, do Adam Cole, baby. We had a team meeting that I brought it up in the middle of, and like the people at my work just laughed at me. It was like it was embarrassing, but it was awesome at the same time.
Yeah, you seen through most of the Snapchats, you seen little bits and pieces of at least one of us.
Yeah, because they were probably only like 2 or 3 rows in front of us.
Yeah.
So, that was, and like I said, they had a fucking ball. Like they were obviously they're not as, nerdy about this wrestling stuff as we are. So like they're getting excited for like the Randy Ortons and stuff like that. But they had fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
man. He went nuts when Nakamura won the match and everything.
So quickly go over the card. You had
this is the first time we have 2 Royal Rumbles to go over.
Yes.
So it was also history. This night made history in a different sense, where they can talk about it,
and they
could talk about 2 Rumble matches.
And listen, this to me was a phenomenal Royal Rumble. Like, not.
Yes.
Like I think one of the top
I feel like it ended. I still did not like the ending. I did not like the ending of this pay-per-view. So it's funny because I feel like the endings of all 3 of these pay-per-views should not be talked about for 3 completely different reasons. Yeah. So I feel like this night should have ended with the winner, but we'll get to that.
You had a cruiserweight match on the pre-show. So the pre-show matches were Kalisto, Gran Metalik, and Lince Dorado. I'm thinking that's Lucha House Party. Versus TJP, Jack Gallagher, and Drew Gulak. Drew Gulak is a Philly guy, so I was a little upset we weren't there for that. But
yeah.
Then you had the Revival versus Bullet Club, or Gallows and Anderson. And then Bobby Roode, it was an open challenge, defeated Mojo Rawley, which was hugely disappointing.
Oh yeah, you're thinking we're in Philly. Yeah, it's a pre-show match. We're gonna get some random old ECW guy come out, and they're gonna lose real quick. But that's what you're just assuming something like that's gonna happen. Yeah. And now it was Mojo Rawley.
Yeah. Then your opening contest was AJ Styles versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Good match. I didn't like it was a weird concept. I didn't like the handicap style for the championship. It was weird, but
this was this is around the time that was the beginning of the end for Kevin Owens as anything legit. Yeah. When he can't beat AJ Styles with the help of a partner.
Yeah. Then you had the Usos versus Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin. I actually went to the bathroom during this match because that's where we were surprised that they were doing the men's. So then next was the men's Royal Rumble match. And
I will speak a little bit on the tag team match. That tag team match was good. Not great. The last pay-per-view we were at in Philly before that, we got to see that was the Usos against I'm trying to think. There was the Usos. It might have been a triple threat tag. That was like the time where they did like that really weird, like the really spot where they all got on the ropes. I can't remember what tag team match. It might have been Money in the Bank. Either way, I remember like the last time we'd seen Usos, they did a really huge spot. And it might have been them against the New Day or something like that. And it was kind of it underwhelmed a little bit. That's purely because I think Chad Gable needs Jason Jordan back. I don't like him and Shelton Benjamin. And I don't like him and Bobby Roode.
Yeah, they're just trying to recreate what they did with American Alpha, and it's not working.
But that match caught me off guard a little bit because you've seen the Usos get the first pinfall, and you're all right. Now
it was Gable a 2 out of 3 falls match.
Oh yeah. A little bit of whatever the hell. I can't think of the word.
Yeah, just keep
regardless. A little context, I guess, in this. And then the Usos get the second fall. And you very rarely see that.
Yeah.
In a match that's supposed to be closely contested. It's not like the Usos came in as like some huge favorite in the match to the point that they should have beat them 2-0. So it was nice to see them kind of give the Usos a little bit of clout in this match by having them win the first 2 pinfalls and have the match end that way.
Yep. So, and then, I remember now, like, we were in, like, going to the bathroom and stuff like that, and, like, that's when we start texting, they're doing the men's Royal Rumble match now.
Yeah.
Because we weren't, because usually the Royal Rumble is the last match of the night. But now, right. Very rare occurrences, like when it was Punk versus Rock for the WWE Championship, that closed out the night. So it's always weird to me when you don't have a Royal Rumble match as your main event. But so
and we were trying to figure out what they were going to do with this. We
were still trying.
They might start the night with a Rumble and then end it with a Rumble. But we were like, can you really do that to the women's Royal Rumble? In our mind, we're like, the women's are trying to make this big thing. Can you really do that at the beginning of the night?
Yeah, and like again for storyline, because we didn't know who was gonna, Rousey. This is the pay-per-view where Rousey showed up, and we're all discussing: is she going to be in the Rumble? Is she not going to be in the Rumble?
Yeah, are they going to reference her? Is she going to be here? Yeah. What's going to happen?
And especially now after this, the women's confirm. It's like, all right,
we were convinced that she'll be number 30 in this women's match. We were convinced that was happening.
So the men's Royal Rumble happened. Fantastic Royal Rumble. Finn Balor was your Iron Man. Rusev and Finn Balor started off the night. It looked like $1 million. You had Andrade Cien Almas and Adam Cole NXT surprise entrance, and then you had Rey Mysterio, which was completely unexpected.
Yes.
That I can't believe how excited I was for Rey Mysterio to, like, just randomly return. Because you hear the booyaka, and we're like, what? And the place went crazy. And then you also had the Hurricane, Shane Helms there, which I loved. I love the Hurricane gimmick. I think it's great. He looked awesome. I think he did try to choke slam John Cena. And it didn't work, I don't think. Or no, I think it might have worked. I forget.
Yeah,
I forget that one. But he was there. I think this was like a perfect Royal Rumble. Well, I don't want to say perfect, but it was like the way it lined up, it was awesome. Elias did do a little preaching, playing the guitar. You had a running gimmick the entire time with Heath Slater kept on getting...
he couldn't make it down to the ring. And people were coming out, and I think Big E fed him pancakes, and
Elias hit him with some way. Yeah, Elias hit him with a guitar, and then ultimately he got in and threw out Sheamus, I believe. I'm trying to find that. I think it was Sheamus. Yeah, because Sheamus was in there for like 2 seconds, and Heath Slater threw him out. It was a great comedy bit. The match had everything, and it had good comedy.
This was one of those nights too, where it was crazy because Heath Slater sat on the ground essentially until because Sheamus is the one that picked him up
and threw him
into the ring. And think about this: Sheamus was number 11, right?
Yes.
Sheamus was the third guy thrown out.
Yeah.
You very rarely get a Royal Rumble match where the ring fills up so quickly. You usually get we expected almost the Elias thing to happen in an empty ring. Mm-hmm. So there was action going on while Elias is playing his music down to the ring. And then you have the little side thing with Heath Slater, what's happening while stuff's going on in the ring. So it was a nice little change from the normal format you get from a Rumble, to see the ring kind of build up like that. But I want to hurry up before you get into the next thing and just continue my point I made about the last Royal Rumble being so bad. I'm going to run down this list. Finn Balor, Elias, Andrade Cien, Bray Wyatt, who was one of the handful of big names then. Sheamus is borderline. Shinsuke, Seth Rollins, John Cena, Adam Cole, The Miz, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, Roman Reigns, and Dolph Ziggler. And I realize some of these names might be subjective, because at the time, I'm sure, at the time in 2015, some of those names were bigger than I'm making them sound. But at that time, Kane and Big Show were still main event mainstays because they needed them to, because they were involved in that storyline, because guys were hurt or whatever reason. But they needed those guys to be in the main event. So you at least have guys like Adam Cole and Andrade Cien was better than... I know Bubba Ray got a huge ovation, but them two were better surprise entrants than anything from the last one. Anything.
Yeah, because they looked... And they also, Andrade was in there for 30 minutes. These guys weren't in there fast. They looked good. Adam Cole, I think he eliminated someone. No, maybe not. I was wrong.
No. But he only made it 6 minutes. But if you remember right, he came out all wrapped up because he had had the match against Aleister Black the night before.
Rey Mysterio threw him out, so that makes sense. That Adam Cole was in there basically for Mysterio to throw out.
Which is
fine. But then also in this Rumble, you had an awesome standoff. You had Cena, Mysterio.
Oh, yeah, it was so good.
Was it Reigns?
It was Randy Orton.
Yeah, Cena, Mysterio, Randy Orton standing against Nakamura, Reigns, and Balor. Finn Balor.
Yeah,
basically the old guard versus the new guard. And that place went crazy for that standoff.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And then, listen, ultimately, Nakamura ended up winning throwing out Reigns. Which I think was
they played it perfectly, because putting Reigns there at the end is what needed to happen in Philly. It needed to. I don't care if it made sense. Reigns needed to be in the end and lose to whoever they wanted to get cheered at the end there. It just made sense. Because there was still that tad second where you're watching it, because it made you feel like a kid again. I will tell you, it made me feel like a kid again. At 31 years old, I'm sitting there on the edge of my seat, watching Reigns almost throw Nakamura out, go, no, you can't do this to me. Yeah. You can't do this to us. You almost had a weird feeling that they put this on in the middle of the night just to fuck with us.
Yes.
That might have been a little bit of the Philadelphia fan complex, where we just get close enough. And the Eagles are about to play in the Super Bowl.
I was just about to say that. I completely forgot that. So this week, as usual, the Royal Rumble takes place the bye week between the
Pro Bowl. Well, it used to be a Pro Bowl. I think Pro Bowl now is after.
No, I think Pro Bowl is that.
That's right. It happened in the afternoon. We were watching it when we were eating at
Burnsies. Yeah, but so they So it always takes place in that bye week before the Super Bowl. Well, the Eagles were just about to play in the Super Bowl, so the city itself was just hyped already. So the energy in the crowd. So this this Rumble, they timed it perfectly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then the nice thing about after the Rumble, right now AJ Styles is your champion. Shinsuke Nakamura just won your Royal Rumble. The match we wanted to see, Nakamura versus AJ Styles at WrestleMania. They announced immediately afterwards, I think Renee went in, who are you going to challenge? And Nakamura announces he's challenging AJ Styles.
Yeah. And I personally did not like that.
I get why, but I loved it just because I'm pretty sure the place got pretty loud for that too.
Oh, it did.
And because it's the match we wanted. This was a match we never thought we were going to see.
See,
in WWE.
I loved the fact that it was Shinsuke, and I remember I kept saying it makes sense because you've seen Shinsuke against Lesnar, you've seen Shinsuke against Styles. Did Shinsuke lose both of those matches? I know Lesnar beat him.
I forget who won the Wrestle Kingdom match with Styles. No, I think I forget.
Well, regardless, we've seen the match, just not in a WWE ring.
Yep.
And in my mind, you could tease it both ways. I mean, you could have teased him against Lesnar. It would have made sense. You draw it out. I always like it way better when they draw these out. I hate when they announce it the next night on Raw. I love the fact that the guy goes back and forth from show to show, because at this time, we thought that they had to wrestle their show. If you remember right, you even told me that beforehand. You said, I'm pretty positive they have to pick their show. I haven't seen anything where they get to pick. And I think they announced it right before the Rumble started.
Yeah, they did.
It got put up on the graphic when it showed us that it was coming up. It purely said on the screen, gets to pick their championship. So I remember saying oh my God, it really is that. Then Nakamura's got to win because he can draw this out. They can make so much off this where he comes out and he says, "Where's Lesnar at? Lesnar's running away from me," kind of thing, because he ain't gonna show up on Raw. Mm-hmm. And then Styles almost saying, "No, I need my revenge against you," kind of thing. Styles almost calling him out while Nakamura saying, "Where's Lesnar?" I understood why they did it. I thought it could have been done better.
Yep. So, all right. So now the men's Royal Rumble is settled down, and so we get the rest of the matches. So we have Cesaro and Sheamus defeat Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan for the Raw Tag Team titles. I completely missed that match because I think I went to the bathroom.
That was when Jason Jordan, he got hurt, but we didn't know if he was really hurt, and he just kind of laid out on the outside.
Yeah,
match that was.
Yeah,
it was a weird thing. You didn't know if it was on purpose or if he was really hurt.
It was a hard, listen, that was a very hard thing to follow up just because a lot of energy was spent from the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
To where I just didn't care about this match at all.
Yeah.
And then you had Lesnar versus Kane and Braun Strowman, which was your typical big man match.
Yeah. Unfortunately, an old Kane can't carry that match.
No.
Unfortunately.
But he was basically in it to take the pinfall, which I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, that was the thing where I think at one point it almost seemed like Lesnar got really pissed at Strowman because Strowman did something wrong during the match.
Oh, yeah, I think he hit him or legitimately hit him in the face or something. I do remember that now.
Yeah, and Lesnar almost kind of threw him down really hard. I forget exactly what happened, but I remember there was a spot where it was like, oh my God, Lesnar looks legit upset about what just happened.
So, and then, now to close out the night, you have your the inaugural women's Royal Rumble match. And the women's match was great.
It was. It was everything I expected it to be, and everything I can't wait for it to not be in January.
So the one thing that really, I think, hurt this Royal Rumble specifically, you had a lot of surprise returns, as expected, just because the depth of the women's roster wasn't big enough for a 30-person, because I think we had it figured out.
I don't know that I agree with that. I think they could have used more NXT.
We had it counted, I believe, on the main roster there was only like 19 women.
Yeah, but I feel like the only reason they did this is I'm sure they would have loved to draw it out and have a couple surprises this year, a couple surprises next year, stuff like that. The problem is they're all only going to get older.
Yeah.
They're less likely to want to do this. And it's the first time ever, so they're trying to pay respects to all
and
of
that's
them
what
that
it
came
needed
before.
To be.
Yeah, it needed to be that, and I was completely content with half of this match being, we haven't seen this person in a while. Yeah,
well, no,
this is the problem
that
what
they
it
hit
was that.
The problem they hit with this was literally the Monday before was, I think, like the Raw 25th anniversary or 30th anniversary episode or something like that. I forget what the celebration was. And a lot of these people came back for that night. You had Trish Stratus, you had Lita, you had Tori Wilson, I think even like Kelly, Beth Phoenix was there. So all of these like surprise returns, we had literally just heard their theme song and seen them the week before.
Yeah.
So it kind of took away from what I think, like hearing Trish Stratus's giggle in her theme song come back. So I think that took a lot away from it. Your Iron Woman, if you must, or Iron Man, was Sasha Banks. She was basically in it for I don't even know, how long was this match? The Women's Royal Rumble was 58 minutes. Sasha Banks was in it for 54.
Yeah, she missed the last 4 minutes.
Yeah, so, I think she was Final Four, too. So, the surprise returns that you had, or the surprise returns, you had Lita, Tori Wilson, Molly Holly, Michelle McCool, Vicky Guerrero, Kelly, Jacqueline, Beth Phoenix, and Brie Bella, and Trish Stratus. Trish Stratus was your number 30, which was done perfectly. As we were saying before, we were getting nervous because we didn't know if Ronda Rousey was going to be in the Royal Rumble. And the only thing I didn't want to have happen is Rousey be in the Rumble because she's going to end up winning. And we wanted Asuka to win.
Yeah.
So, at least I did.
And
that was...
At the time, I didn't know that Paige had just gotten hurt. So I remember I was doing the countdown, and I'm like, oh my god, they're not even going to have Trish in this match.
Yeah.
Like, I remember counting it and thinking, like, okay. I think once Ember Moon came out, it confused me.
Well, so listed off all the, like, surprise returns. You had Kairi Sane and Ember Moon from NXT.
Yeah.
Were surprise entrants as well.
Yeah. So Ember Moon came out at 23, and I had already, you already known that Asuka was going to be in it. Bayley was going to be in it. We were convinced Trish Stratus. We knew the Bellas were going to be in it, and Beth Phoenix. But in my mind, I also thought Paige, because I did not know she got hurt.
Yeah,
so I'm doing in my mind, I'm counting them down, and I'm like, okay, maybe they're just going to only put Nikki in and not Brie, and then Brie comes out, and I'm like, okay, who the hell are they going to leave out? Trish has to be in this match.
Yeah.
They're not going to leave out Bayley, and they're not going to leave out Paige. So then Bayley comes out, and I'm like, oh my god. Because we're trying to count it with Rousey, and I think once Ember Moon and Beth Phoenix came out, it really confused the shit out of us. Because Mickie James had to be in it, we were convinced the Bellas and stuff like that. Vicky Guerrero, I think, is probably the one that threw everything off, because I think we guessed a lot of them. Vicky Guerrero was not one of them.
Nah, just because she's not a wrestler.
Yeah, but so we were convinced that Rousey was going to be at the end, and then the numbers went, and I'm like, oh my god, Trish Stratus isn't even going to be in this match. So I'm like, it's got to be Paige, Trish Stratus, or Rousey.
Yeah.
And again, I think you ended up telling me after Trish Stratus came out, I asked you, and you were like, yeah, Paige got like seriously injured at a house show or whatever happened. I'm like, oh, I did not see that because I've been staying away from everything. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
That's what, unfortunately, what happens when you stay away from the dirt sheets and Twitter and everything for a couple weeks leading to the Rumble.
But I remember there was the Ember Moon and Asuka standoff in this match, which was the crowd loved that. I also like. The one thing that there was a lot of, like, not as much energy for this match as there was just because it was a long night. And listen, like, including people like us, it's been a long weekend already.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that affected some of this, but the Ember Moon Asuka standoff was great. They had a Mickie James Trish Stratus standoff, which is what I wanted. They also had the Trish Stratus Sasha Banks standoff, I think, as well, and that got a lot of noise. The Vicky Guerrero spot was perfect. Like, again, just that little bit of comedy in there, and it was done really well. Asuka ended up winning. So the one thing that I think we benefited from being there live, Stephanie McMahon was on commentary, apparently, and we did not have to listen to that.
Yeah. Thankfully.
Yeah, I was pretty happy about that.
That was one thing I think Timmy was texting me at the time, telling me how awful she was.
Then you had both the champions. So your champions at the time were Charlotte and Alexa Bliss. They were out at the ringside, watching the match the entire time. Asuka ends up winning, and then you had oh god, what happened? Asuka ends up winning, and then you do oh man, so yeah, Respass just stepped away for a second, so I'm just gonna try to fill in some blanks here. Asuka wins, and then Charlotte and Alexa come into the ring, and it's basically trying to figure out who's gonna win. Who's Asuka gonna challenge for the title? And she's looking at both Alexa and Charlotte, and then you hear, there you go, Mike's back. What's the?
I'm sorry.
No, that's cool.
I completely missed all that. I thought I heard knocking. It must have been wind or something like that blowing on the door.
Oh, okay. What's Rousey's theme song? I forget. I'm gonna look it up.
I can't remember the name.
Oh,
of it.
Bad Reputation.
I can think of it. Yeah, I was gonna say I couldn't think of the name of it. I can hear it in my head.
Yeah, so that starts playing, and like this is where they messed up a little bit, is that you had the Bad Reputation song play, but then on the Titantron they had Rousey's graphic up.
Yeah.
But then on TV, because I rewatched the Rumble, and they weren't showing the graphic because everyone's like, "Oh, who's that? What's going on?" And then Rousey came out. The whole place went crazy.
Yeah.
She looked like, and this is what sucks, and she's getting better at it now. She was so happy to be there and so happy with the reception. She looked not convincing whatsoever. Like, she looked so awkward getting into the ring, pointing to the WrestleMania sign. And again, it did and this is why I think you didn't like it. It overshadowed Asuka winning the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, to me it didn't make sense. And to be honest with you, I thought it would have played better had she come out and almost pushed Asuka and like pointed at the two of them and shook her head no, and then pointed up at WrestleMania and then like pointed at the two of them, almost to say like, no, use this to come after me. Like, I want you my first match kind of thing. To put some doubt.
You are always a fan of the Royal Rumble winner doing something else with the Royal Rumble contract, I guess.
Oh, yeah. There's been times where I would love the fact that they would use it and be like, no, I want The Undertaker.
Exactly.
I don't want this. Yeah. Because then it almost is like, I view The Undertaker as more important than the titles. I won this. I want to be able to call my shot kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I wanted Rousey to come out and be like, I'm bigger than the titles. You want a main event WrestleMania with me. That would be a huge match. And everybody was like, oh my God, oh my God. It was almost like she came out and then pointed at the WrestleMania sign. It was like, what? Like, Asuka just won the first ever Women's Royal Rumble. It's supposed to be a big deal. I thought it was dumb as shit when they brought Charlotte and Alexa Bliss in the ring. It was cool enough to have them out there, and they should have kind of like walked off to the side and like pointed at her and stuff while she was celebrating. But instead they had them come in the ring, and she stood there, and then Ronda Rousey comes in. I was like, is this really the time? Is this time? I understand it, but let Asuka have the moment. Like it's almost like they're saying the Women's Royal Rumble was not big enough. In my mind, it was them saying it was not big enough to end the pay-per-view. Rousey was big enough to end the pay-per-view. And they only put the Women's Royal Rumble at the end of the night because Rousey was there. And that's the only reason why. And I hated that. I hated it.
I can agree. I can agree with parts of it, but then in my head, it's like, how are you going to debut Ronda Rousey? Like I get it. You want to give Asuka, let Asuka shine with it and let the women shine. And again, this was a great Royal Rumble. Like it was exactly kind of as you expected. The men's Royal Rumble was definitely better. But this was really good. But then this one also, again, you had a lot of I don't want to say old timers, but you had a lot of people who haven't wrestled in a while getting in a ring, doing a Royal Rumble match really for the first time. So it's not going to be as clean as a lot of the other stuff. But I think it was great. It was done really well. Because even just looking at like the order of entry, it alternated between like old timer, current, old timer, current, old timer, current type of thing. So it kind of kept you on your feet a little bit. And you did have a lot of, again, the quote unquote surprise returns. But yeah, Rousey looks so, like, it was weird. So, like, the other thing, too, is, like, she has Roddy Piper's jacket on, which we didn't know this until after the fact, because she looked like a little kid with how big that jacket was on her.
Yeah.
And it's like, that looks so, like, just weird. You find out after the fact that it was Roddy Piper's jacket that he wore, I think, the last time he was ever in the ring. And Roddy Piper is one of Ronda's, like, one of the people she looked up to. And she got the jacket from Roddy Piper's family. They gave it to her saying, here, wear this. You can wear this when you go in. Because she's essentially, I don't want to say taking over that Roddy Piper gimmick, but that's where a lot of her merchandise and designs and stuff were drawing inspiration from.
Well, her nickname in UFC was Rowdy Ronda Rousey. So,
exactly. So
I mean, she went with that. I'm still convinced, and I know they didn't want her to lose. I get it, but dude, you could have foreshadowed the Bellas thing with her by doing that. You could have had the Bellas eliminator. She could have came out last and you know, did her thing, and you could have had the Bellas eliminator, which only would have made the crowd cheer for Asuka more when Asuka fended them off, kind of thing.
I am glad
I felt like there was things to do.
I'm glad she was not in the Rumble.
I'm glad in that sense, but if you were going to debut her at the Rumble, they did it the wrong way. I feel like they did it the wrong way.
I think it's the best way, because I was happy she didn't. Because here's the thing: if she was in the Rumble, she had to win it. Like, you can't not have Ronda Rousey not win, even though it's just a Royal Rumble. You can't have her not win whatever her first match was. So that took away from worrying about that, and that was the best way to debut her. Like, again, like I know what you're saying. Like, it's highlighting Rousey over the rest of the women, but you were essentially celebrating, you know, the accomplishments of like the women because they did the Royal Rumble. It was a good time to debut her. I thought it just came off awkward. And the thing is, probably the worst part of the night was maybe this awkward like send-off or like awkward debut of Rousey. And all in all, this was a great night. Great Royal Rumble. Oh, yeah.
That's where I said the endings of these pay-per-views were something that should not be talked again for different reasons. But I take this one over the other two. I mean, I take this over Reigns winning. It was awesome to sit there and watch it. You know, be there when she made her debut. That was cool.
Yeah.
I just still... I wish it didn't overshadow it. I just feel like it overshadowed it. I wouldn't even have cared if they had Rousey come in and win it. And then have her stripped of it by Triple H and Stephanie because she's not an official talent yet or something like that the next night. Put more heat on Triple H and Stephanie.
Yeah.
You know? And then maybe she eliminated Asuka at the end. So, like, Asuka gets it by default or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
The cool thing about both of these Rumbles, too, is we got the people we wanted to have win.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like we wanted Nakamura and we wanted Asuka because I wanted Asuka Charlotte at Mania, which they did. And to me, Asuka Charlotte was the match of the night at Mania.
Yeah. Yeah, which actually makes me very excited for this next Women's Royal Rumble because tonight, I mean, I don't know. We discussed possibly posting episodes earlier now.
Yeah.
But if this doesn't get posted until Tuesday, we're recording Sunday morning. Tonight might get me more excited for the Royal Rumble, depending on who wins the Charlotte Becky Lynch Asuka match.
Oh, I forgot about that tonight.
You know, I can tell you one thing.
Becky Lynch is winning that. I'll submit it in my official prediction.
My official prediction is Asuka, and it's because I want to see that Becky Lynch Charlotte, the end of the Royal Rumble, knowing that Rousey still has the title. You know what I mean? I want to see that at the end.
Yeah.
So on a purely basis of Asuka's not going to win the first two women's Royal Rumble, so get her out of there. And the way to get her out of there is by winning this match. So in my predictions, I know I haven't sent them in yet, and I'm sure PG will probably also boycott TLC like he did Saudi Arabia because he won't get his predictions in. But,
well, no, he did mention that he has to get his predictions.
That he has to get. Okay, well, yeah. I have mine. I just didn't send them to you.
Yeah, I have to actually look over the card.
Asuka is who I have winning this match.
What?
I have Asuka win the title purely, and it's just selfish reasons. I think the Royal Rumble becomes more interesting if you have Charlotte and Becky Lynch in it because of the thought of Rousey against either one of them or both of them at WrestleMania.
Do you get a Royal Rumble like 92 scenario where Brett and, what was it, Luger go over?
Maybe.
Charlotte and Becky go over at the same time?
Maybe.
That'd be interesting. That really would be. But let's go back to this. So, obviously, the best Royal Rumble we went to was the most recent one.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't even
down.
like, you know, because it was recent, it was just good. Like, it was a good night of wrestling.
The non-Rumble matches were better than any non-Rumble card on the other two.
I liked the card on the 25
as a whole.
On the 2015 one. Yeah, as a whole, like I don't know. Like
when you go down the full list, I don't know. I mean, Cesaro, Sheamus, Seth Rollins, Jordan was kind of weak. The Lesnar match was a Lesnar match. I actually really enjoyed the Usos and Gable and Benjamin. And then the Styles and Owens, Zayn was... It was a storyline extender. That's all it was.
Yeah.
But it still had AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn involved.
Yes.
So, I think I like this. And it had two Rumbles. It had two Rumbles.
Well, that's where...
So if I had to say the card as a whole, it had a second Rumble. What we were there for was Rumble matches, and it had two of them.
Oh, and also at this Royal Rumble, I forgot, it started the tradition of whenever there's a clock on the screen...
God.
I'm going to apologize for that because I feel I was involved in that, but anytime the clock was on the screen and it was counting down to whatever number it was, the entire crowd would count down with it and do the loud like
this was for a good
5 minutes.
I don't know how much of it came across on TV, but from the end of the Rude Raleigh match until when the Royal Rumble officially began, which it was a good 10-ish minutes. It was
so if you're ever at like a live event, usually they will put a giant clock on the screen. Like when there's like 2 or 3 minutes left until the show's officially starting, just so kind of people know when things are going to start happening. Because of that, when the clock was on the screen, whenever it was counting down like from like 40 seconds to 30 seconds, the entire audience was counting down with it, and when it hit 30 seconds, they would just do really loud together. It was, to me, it was incredible. It was, but like I know they started doing, they ruined it. That was the Dolph Ziggler Seth Rollins match that they ruined, that the fans took over, because they did the same exact thing during that match.
Yeah, and it sucked because we did it because we were bored. Nothing was going on. We can't hear anything that's going on.
Yeah.
And we were just doing it out of boredom to kind of, because isn't that they also took the clock away and the fans booed, and then they brought it back up and we cheered.
So, yeah. Yeah, but again, this was all pre-show beforehand, getting really excited, which was fun. But then, like, the Iron Man match, they kind of ruined that. So, like, there would never be another Iron Man match again. So...
Yeah. Unfortunately, thank you for ruining that.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh? Right? Pittsburgh?
Was it Pittsburgh?
I think it was. Give him PA a bad name.
Yeah.
You'll always be Philly light.
Well, yeah, they booed Rey Mysterio. So, but yeah, I don't know when we're gonna get another Royal Rumble again. Now, just because like we've had 3 already, I think we are up there as one of the most cities that have hosted the most Royal Rumbles. I'm gonna just quickly look. Okay, they're showing both of them. Yeah, so Philly we've hosted 3. Orlando has done 2. Madison Square Garden has done 2. Yeah, we might actually have it.
Yeah, was it San Antonio?
San Antonio also has 3.
Oh, they have 3.
Yes.
I missed the first one. San Antonio's got 3.
Yeah, it's 3. So Philly is kind of like, it seems like it's becoming the Royal Rumble spot.
Yeah, well, they won't give us WrestleMania, so.
Which sucks, but I don't. I would hope we get WrestleMania once. I think we will at some point. They just got to stop building stadiums.
Well, they have to hit the big spots. That's the thing. Once they run out of like the bigger areas, once it starts becoming like smaller areas that build stadiums, then we'll hopefully get a shot. The biggest problem is I don't know that the link is big for a football stadium, and I think that's a little bit of the problem too, because it's missing so many seats because it's open on the sides.
Yeah,
like they don't have seats all the way around. It makes it harder for them to get that outrageously huge number that they make up every year.
Yes.
That they give you seats, even though it's not technically, like they count their employees and everything too. They count the people serving you hot dogs in their number that they give, but they can't. The number won't be obnoxiously high when they put it on the screen in Philly. I'm thinking that maybe if they tried hard enough, they could put 90-some thousand, and even that is a stretch at the link. And they want that 100. They want that number.
Yeah.
And they can't get it from our stadium, unfortunately. So.
True. So, yeah, I don't know when the next one, but obviously we'll go.
Next pay-per-view?
Next Royal Rumble that's in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we plan. I'm sure.
Hopefully, we get another Money in Bank soon.
I hope so too. I just hope we get a good pay-per-view. The last pay-per-view we had was oh God, it was the Punjabi prison match with Randy Orton and Jinder Mahal, which I didn't like. The match on that card was Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles, and I still said, nah, I don't want to go. That was just bad, but yeah, we should get a good pay-per-view soon. But yeah, Royal Rumble. If you ever get a chance to go to a Royal Rumble, go. They are so much fun.
Yeah, it only. I mean, I've never been to Survivor Series, never been to a SummerSlam, but I mean, it fails in comparison to WrestleMania only by a little bit. And I think that had a lot to do because we traveled to WrestleMania. I felt like if we travel somewhere for a Royal Rumble, we might feel a little bit differently about it too. But it was only a little under WrestleMania, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be just a little bit under for a place that we did not go travel to. We didn't do all the shows like
I did. Listen, this 2018 weekend, I did a lot because they did a House of Hardcore show.
Right.
I did NXT on Saturday night and then Mania on, or the Rumble on Sunday. So
when we went to Dallas, we did Dallas Stars. You know, we did ROH. We did Texas Rangers. We did Monday night after.
That was the only thing I was hoping for is that they more like so when the 2018 Rumble was announced, House of Hardcore immediately said, "Oh, we're doing a show that Friday." They immediately got the 2300 Arena booked, and I saw that. I was hoping, "Oh, this is awesome!" Like, hopefully, like Ring of Honor does something in the area, like, and it then like. it becomes this community like meeting point of all these wrestling promotions because they know there's the Royal Rumbles going on here. It ended up not being that. I think House of Hardcore was the only thing going on that day. Because then they also did the convention on on Saturday morning. Me and Jared went to that.
Yeah, I skipped that. Yeah. I think I worked Friday night. I think that's why.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was cool because Jared he met I think Arn and Tully and got them to autograph his action figures.
Yeah.
So that was like kind of exciting, and he got a picture taken with them. But it was just way too much money, and I didn't want to spend it for like the photos. I was gonna do it with they had a 4 Horsemen meet and greet or like with Ric Flair, but the line was just way too long.
Right.
So, but yeah, I'm hoping it gets announced again soon. I'm hoping. So they're doing this year's Royal Rumble is in Phoenix. It's in Chase Field, so they're doing it outside. I'm hoping the Royal Rumble does not turn into that, like a outdoor type event like WrestleMania.
Who knows though? We might get it at the link.
We probably won't because
won't we?
You can't do the Royal Rumble in January outside. In Philly.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, you could.
I'd be very risky.
Yeah, you know.
Listen, I think
that didn't even cross my mind.
I think
we might get like a SummerSlam or something outside, though.
Maybe if they decide to go that big with it.
I'm saying if they move the Big Four that route, I'm going to assume it's not going to be something they just move to the Rumble. That they would kind of move all 4 of them.
Holy shit, we've been talking for almost 2 hours.
Yeah, I know. We didn't even have this topic ready. We just kind of came up with it right before we went on.
So, but with that being said, I'm just going to try to cut it short just because.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for listening, everyone. If you made it this far,
if you made it to this and you were listening from the beginning, yes, I thank you, because this was basically us just talking about our experience for 3 years.
I do wish Peachy was here to kind of give his experience as a more casual fan.
Yeah. Peachy he wouldn't have remembered what happened at this past Royal Rumble like we couldn't remember 2004.
Yeah. But I got nothing else, so get ready. So I think we actually have a lineup. We have a little bit of a schedule planned ahead. So I think next week...
Oh, yeah, I know. Dude, who the fuck would have thought it? We're pretty much set at least until...
until the Royal Rumble.
The Royal Rumble, yeah.
Yeah. So we do have... So next week's episode, I think we're going to do something holiday-related. Something Christmassy. Yes, might as well. I think after that, we're going to do kind of New Year's resolutions. And did you want to talk about the pay-per-view New Year's resolution?
No.
Okay.
Was that New Year's Revolution?
Revolution, that's what it was.
Yeah. I figured we could, the year in review. I know it's not a full year for us podcast-wise, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
And talk about what we want to get out of this next year, what we want out of wrestling in general.
Yep.
It'd be a nice thing. We throw some names out there and some possible, maybe interviews we would like to do next year. We put it out there in the universe. I tag them on Twitter. Maybe they see it. You just never know.
Maybe if I run into a wrestler again at a convention, I actually remember to tell them about the podcast.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll actually get some type of merchandise, so you don't have to tell them. You just point to your shirt.
But then after that, we're going to do the a couple more Royal Rumble centric episodes with Big Roy. Going to be talking about essentially going over numbers 1 through 30. We're going to split it across like 2 or 3 episodes. But concept seems like it's going to be fun. We're just going to randomly assign out the numbers, not know who has what.
We talked about this at the beginning.
I know. I'm just recapping.
Hours, but...
I'm recapping again.
Okay. I just have to make sure you remembered that it was not our conversation we had beforehand.
Yeah.
It was actually
on here. Yeah. No. So we're gonna announce those and just talk about whatever we want to with the numbers of the person we have that comes up over 30 years of history in the Rumble. So we have a lot to go over.
And over 50 spots.
Yes.
50.
And then we will do, as usual, it's a Big Four. We'll do probably a full prediction show. And probably, we haven't talked about it yet, but I'm assuming we are going to start lining up what we think the WrestleMania card is going to be during this prediction show as well.
Yeah,
what we think it's going to be.
A lot of our Royal Rumble predictions will probably be based off what we think is going to happen at
WrestleMania. So, yep. So, we have that coming up. And we don't know if we're going to do a live reaction yet during the Royal Rumble like we did for SummerSlam. We still have to figure that out. So
yeah, we might even watch it together. This might be the first Royal Rumble in a long time we haven't watched together. So
we can watch it at somebody else's house.
My house is always available.
I might do that then.
Okay.
So, yeah, I got nothing else. So, anything you want to chime in on, Mike?
No, this is 2 hours, dude.
Yeah, I'm ready for bed again.
You know what? We miss PG. PG keeps us on track.
He does. He does with his chiming in every now and then. So, alrighty. With that being said, everyone, again, thank you for listening if you've made it this far. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you enjoy the next coming weeks of kind of content we're going to be putting out there. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to the Rumble episode. Like that, it's a very cool concept we have. I think those are going to be fun episodes.
Yeah, and Roy has been asking to be on the show for a while. He's one of our loyal listeners. He promotes the show.
He's a friend first and foremost.
Yes.
Yeah, friend, and then listener.
A friend and a fellow Salesian. I could say that even though I didn't graduate from there.
Yeah.
Still a fellow Salesian. And he could probably contribute way more than Peachy can, even though he hasn't watched the product in.
He could probably contribute way more than I can.
14 years.
If we're being honest, he could probably contribute way more than I can.
I mean, wrestling knowledge, not in life.
Well, he definitely could contribute way more than me in life. We're all well aware of that one. So, but I got nothing else. I'm ready to go take a nap.
Yeah.
Thank you again, everyone, for listening. I hope you have a good week, and we will catch you next week. Later, guys. Have a good one.